Hi, I'm Anna Ernst, class of
Ladies and
2007.
gentlemen.
Today's conversation with Anna is brought to us in part through the ongoing support of 2008 graduate Matt Cox and his company Saucetown Properties. If you or anyone you know have a house you want to sell but don't feel like dealing with the hassle of doing repairs or hiring a realtor, go to saucetownproperties.net to get a fair cash offer today. And today we're joined by 2007 graduate Anna Edmonds Ernst. Anna's Saxon years were full of soccer, basketball, track, choir, leadership, and ASB. She has fond memories of beating Southridge in the soccer playoffs, all of her choir trips, our assemblies, and even Mrs. Tiffin giving some special permission for her to hang a huge banner at a football game to ask her date to the snowball dance. After graduation, Anna played collegiate soccer at the University of Idaho and Western Oregon University before getting married. And after her oldest son had complications at birth and a stay in the NICU, Anna went back to school to become a nurse, where she now works in obstetrics and gynecology as an RN for Salem Hospital. She and her husband, shout out Kenneth, have 4 children, and they just bought a home in Turner on some property and are busy with projects at that house. Busy with raising their kids, and they're active in their church. Anna, welcome to your time in the spotlight. You told me a little bit about Thanksgiving. Did you get any rest over the last couple of days, or was it just full of family time?
What is rest when you're a parent, Ryan?
Fair.
Yes, it was nice. It was a nice long time, but busy.
I bet. I bet.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you spending a little time with us today, especially as you give up maybe a little bit of that peace that you do get during the days. Tell us a little
Yeah.
bit how life is these days, raising kids, the projects you've got going on, anything you want to share.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I feel honored to be here, so I appreciate it. And we'll see how it goes because I got 2 kids napping and 2 up at school. But yes, we just bought a house out here in Turner in July. It's actually the home my husband was raised in, so that's
No
kind of
kidding.
fun. Small world, and it's on just about over an acre. So we have lots of dreams. We have a shop that's going up right now, so that's been our main project. And then we we got a kitten, a brand new baby kitten. So that's, never been cat people before.
No.
No, but here we are thinking it would be a barn cat. And now, of course, it's inside and everyone's obsessed. So,
Well,
that's just how it
congratulations.
goes.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's a lot, especially being
Yeah.
a new cat mom and all the things that entails. And our years go way back. I can remember when you were born. My sister and you have been best friends, and our parents have been close friends ever since. And I know Salem has been home pretty much all of your life. What do you remember about growing up in this community, growing up in the Edmonds family, which is large, and you've got
Uh-huh.
a lot going on in that family in and of itself? Any memories that come up, let's say pre-South Salem High School?
Man. Yeah, large extended family on both my mom and dad's side, which was great, like a covering. We had a lot of connections here in Salem. It is always interesting as you get older as an adult and find your own space in the city you were born and raised in, kind of making it your own. So that's been a challenge over the years, but ultimately I'm thankful for the support system and the cousins and just, speaking of Thanksgiving and holidays, we always had a lot of people around, which I really loved that part. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. You're the second of 4 in your
Yep.
immediate family. Older sis was here at South before you got here. What do you remember about South Salem High School as you led up to being a student here?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, both my parents actually went to South as
That's
well,
right.
which is
That's
kind
right.
of crazy.
Yes.
And then my grandfather on my mom's side, it used to be, I think they called it like Central Salem, which is now North Salem, but that was the only Salem school back in the day. So
Gotcha.
my extended family's been around for a while. So yeah, both my folks went to South, and then my sister Sarah was there. So there's always anticipation and excitement. I think mostly I was very into soccer, so that was a big focus of mine to get to go to South and be a part of the teams. And then those cousins we talked about, they were at Sprague, most of them, but watching them at the different sporting events, it just was a fun anticipatory time, like looking forward to what you got to do in high school.
Yeah. So let's talk about those high school years. What do you remember about South?
Oh man, so many things. It was funny actually preparing for this. I pulled out, the binder that my mom gave me of all the pictures and all the things because you have to sort of spark memory, at least for me in this
Yes.
season, because my mental space is so occupied by other things. But what I remember about South, I mean, definitely soccer was a primary focus, being involved in other sports too. I did track for only 2 years and basketball all the way through. And then leadership times, I have a lot of positive memories there. Choir, we got to do some like traveling with the different choirs. So there's lots of positive memories there as well.
Yeah, you mentioned Sarah being here before you got
Yeah.
here. Did you live in her shadow at all? I know she was super involved as well.
Yeah, totally. I think that's definitely part of our story together. And, it's we're only 2 years apart, so it's hard to kind of make your own space. I think the biggest difference between Sarah and I is that she was a lot more motivated with her academics. And in high school, I was very much like, okay, like good enough, which for better or for worse in my own journey. But it was fun. It was fun to have like her friends that I could kind of look up to. And there's that natural like separation and your siblingness. But ultimately, I think it was fun to have a sibling there. And then Aaron, my younger sibling, got to be there 1 year that I was there. So we got to overlap as well a little bit. And I really enjoyed that. That was
Yeah,
fun.
Aaron was goalkeeper on your soccer team,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
That's
Yep.
right.
Aaron is
That's right.
goalkeeper. And so that was really fun. And that was a really fun year. That was my senior year. We had a really fun year and, got to do some cool things as a cool group of kids. So yeah.
What do you think it is, knowing South the way you do with so many siblings that went through, and then obviously your parents too? What is it that distinguishes South from other schools, or what makes this place special?
That's such a good question. I think there's a lot of history in South. I mean, you probably know, I don't know when South opened, but I think there's a lot of history.
54.
1954. See, thank
There it
you.
is. Yes.
So I think that makes it really cool. I think the location of South is really fun. There's interesting things like I haven't been down there in quite a while now, but even just like the football stadium being so unique in the way it's designed. It used to be, I don't know what they use that wing for now, but it used to be was it Howard Street at the
Yeah.
time that I was
Yeah.
there? So there was like a mix of other community groups, I think that made it really special. So it wasn't like we were isolated, but I think South's very involved in the community and there was different ways you saw that based just on its location.
After graduation, at what point did you know University of Idaho was where you're headed?
Oh, that's a good question. I always wanted to play at the collegiate level, and the discussion of where to go kind of probably started senior year. I'm super thankful for my folks because they're very helpful in, taking me on tours and showing me different options and watching older cousins and people go play at different levels. I think part of me was like, could I play D1? Like that was sort of the focus of like, oh, if I'm going to give it a shot at any time, like this would be the time to give it a shot. So that's what ultimately made me decide to go to University of Idaho. And it was on one hand, great experiences. On the other hand, it was a really challenging season. I think your freshman year in college, whether you're playing sports or not, can really be like, it can shake you up a little bit. And I don't know if I could have prepared better for that or if that's just one of the seasons of life you have to kind of go through. But ultimately, after a couple of years there, I ended up transferring, which was a really good decision for me to transfer to Western Oregon, be a little closer to home, play at a little smaller level, which allowed me to do other things. And I think that is something that I learned about myself is I like to do lots of different things. I don't like to be necessarily locked into one specific, lane. So, yeah.
And you studied community health, right?
Yeah, so I studied community health. I think I started in like sports science at Idaho, but so did everyone else. A lot of people study that. And then when I transferred, I moved over to like public health, community health.
When we interviewed Danielle Hayward
Yes.
Ammon
Yes.
just last year, she talked about that transition specifically,
Yeah.
very similar to you, Idaho to Western Oregon.
Yes.
What do you remember about that time and in that decision process, shifting from D1 to a little bit of a lower level, but still being able to play, and that community going from Moscow, Idaho to Monmouth, of all places?
It's funny. I was listening to her podcast when I was preparing for this, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, we do have such a similar story, just in the two schools and then transferring as well." But yeah, I think that for me at the time of life I was in, soccer was really important, and it was it still is like an important part of my life. But I definitely just kind of got sucked up into a group of folks that I was like, I don't know that this is ultimately the direction I want to be going with my life, which made me pause and think, okay, what do I actually want to do? I'm here studying kind of a generic major. I don't know what I want to do. I remember my parents coming up and taking me to like a restaurant and just sitting me down with heart to heart, like, okay, what do we want to do with your life? Like, we've been here, you've tried this for a year and a half. Things aren't really shaking out how we thought. And so I kind of had these categories of like, do I want to become a teacher? Do I want to be a nurse? I knew I wanted to travel. I was like, maybe I'll do missions work. But I wasn't sure, how I wanted to proceed. So Western, I don't actually know where it came from. I think it was from a friend that I had met at a Young Life camp in the summer between one of my years. I went and served at like summer staff, and she was at Western Oregon. So I was like, well, I'll just give that a shot. Like, it's got a soccer team, Division II. But ironically enough, when I first transferred out to Western, I didn't play at first. So I put my cleats up on the shelf and gave it a break and just kind of needed to reflect on life and see what was really important. So took a break. I actually paused school and went and did YWAM, which is Youth with a Mission.
Yes.
So I didn't even graduate, which was, my parents were holding their breath, I think, like, will you come back and graduate? But that was my deal. I was like, if I can go, because I really wanted to travel and see the world. And shout out to your sister, Caitlin. When I was done with my DTS over in England, she flew out, and her and another friend of ours, we went and traveled for a month. So that was pretty epic. Yeah. So those are fun memories. And then I did come back to Western. When I came back to Western is when I asked the coach, like, hey, could I come play? And he was like, sure. So I, trained hard. I got back in shape and went out for fall season. And the first day of daily doubles, I blew out my knee.
Ugh.
I completely did the whole, whatever they call it, the trifecta, the triangle
the
thing.
ACL, meniscus. Yeah. Okay.
Whatever the other one is. So that was a huge disappointment, as you can imagine, and like kind of felt like this thing I was going to step back into and proceed, in a more authentic way for myself. Like, I can still play soccer and still hold the same morals that I want and do other things. Like, I can balance my life a little bit better. And then to blow up my knee was like, what are you doing, God? Why? What's the point of this? So there's a lot of disappointment that I had to wrestle through. And still sometimes I reflect, like, what was that season for? Because you do put so much into your sport. I think now where I am, however many years out, there's been many conversations with other friends who've played sports at a higher level that when it becomes so much of your identity, it is this like journey you have to go through to sort of reshape who you are. And I think there's more opportunity for work for people that fall in that category, that they're not just their sport. But yeah, that was kind of the work I think I was doing internally at that point. But shortly after, I met my husband. And then life just took off. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was curious, that identity shift for you in that moment. You also indicated mental health being something super important to you. Is that a period of your life that you look at and go, okay, that's when I recognize the importance? That was it happening already? I'm curious to answer those questions.
Yeah. I didn't actually get into my own personal counseling until after our first son was born, which we can talk about that at some point too. But I think looking back, I definitely see that shift. I had a really great community at Western, like a group of kids, that were just fun, and we didn't have to party to have fun. Like they just were like really down to earth. So I think that was part of my healing, if you want to say. Just having other people who they were athletes or they weren't, or we went and got passes to the mountain and did snowboarding one season, and we just did other things together that was fun, just real, true fun. So, but yeah, I think that is definitely a part where that part of the story started, with the mental health and the reflection, and your identity of when something is taken from you, it makes you kind of realize, okay, where am I? What is left of me when this thing that I put so much energy, effort, and life into is gone?
You mentioned you meet Kenneth and life takes off. How does that happen?
Yeah, we met that year, my senior year of college at Western. It was kind of like a super senior year, I guess, because I had taken the gap year. And he was down at Oregon State doing his master's program, and he's a PE teacher in Salem Kaiser. So he's involved in the community here, but he was finishing his master's. We dated and we like dated 6 months, married after 7 months, total of like a year, a little over a year. So it was very fast. Yeah.
Yeah, and somehow you end up in Hawaii, right?
Yes. So then we had a year here in Salem just working. I worked at the hospital in like community health education. He was subbing in the school district and we were just itching for an adventure. And he was raised here too. He was a private school kiddo, so our lives didn't like overlap really. But we both were like, we just need to sort of set our own identity. Speaking of identity, as a
Yeah.
newly wedded couple. So we went over to Kona, Hawaii with YWAM, so Youth with a Mission. And we led the schools that we had both partaken in previous seasons of our life. So we had 2 years over there and it was awesome. Yeah, our firstborn was born over there. Yeah, we love looking back on that season. It was a really special season.
Yeah, I know relationships there were vital and crucial and
Yes.
continue to
Yeah.
this day. Talk about that experience being away from your family, your core support system here, which I know
Yeah.
you've mentioned is so important, but identifying who your people were there,
Yeah.
especially in a time that probably was as difficult as any in your life
Mm-hmm.
after giving birth. What was that like?
Yeah, when we did move, I remember the first week being like, oh my gosh, did we make a mistake? Like anytime you go into a new space, you think everyone here, they're all friends and we're like the outsiders. But slowly but surely, just like finding really neat people and folks from all over the world, which I really value. Just, some of our closest friends, one of our closest friends, they're in Denmark and they're awesome. We have friends all over the world serving with this organization still. So what might take a little bit of time at the beginning to make those relationships, I think specifically with sometimes these faith-based organizations, you can have quick, deep relationships. And that's what we found, where people were wanting really deep, authentic relationships. So they weren't afraid to go deep fast.
Yeah.
And that was really vital for when we had Judah, our oldest, and he was sick, just having a huge team praying for him. And um, we, yeah, I don't think we would have been able to do it without that.
Without that network, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Judah's alive and well today?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
He's great. He's in 5th grade and they said all sorts of different things like brain damage, cerebral palsy, lots of big things spoken over his life, and he's fine. We just had conferences last week and he's just right where he should be. So
Yeah.
we are super thankful and really give all the glory to God. I mean, there's so many stories within his story that just point back to whether you believe in God or not, that there's some higher power that was looking out for us, because we had so many teams of people telling us, he wasn't going to make it, or he was not going to be able to walk, or he wouldn't, maybe would never eat on his own, which is really scary as new parents, especially. You get
Absolutely.
hit with all this, with your precious newborn.
Right,
So,
right, right.
yeah.
And now you get to be part of the teams that are doing some of that communicating. How has that experience informed what you're doing today and the gifts that you're giving, or as you walk through these moments with families that, how
Yeah.
are you present in your own experiences with that?
Yeah. That's a great question. I think that's a daily battle. I started my nursing career in labor and delivery, and there were moments in labor and delivery where, without this, I don't know if people are interested, but sparing some of the details, but with Judah's birth, he had a shoulder dystocia, which is where the baby's head comes out and their shoulders have a hard time getting out. And that was the tip of all the problems that he ended up having. So I remember when I was as a nurse, fast forward however many years, the first time I had a patient who had a shoulder dystocia, like my whole body responded.
Absolutely.
And I was not expecting that like physical response. Thankfully, my charge nurse knows a little bit about my story, and I was able to like turn to her and she was able to step in and I was able to step out, and that patient did just fine. But it is interesting how you have to remember you're a human, and sometimes in the medical field we just forget that, and our bodies can not betray us, but kind of like we can respond and not even know what's happening. So that's another mental health like plug of just having the right counselor or therapist to work through some of your trauma is the best thing you could ever do for yourself, in my opinion.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and
Yeah.
having been in the world
Yep.
myself, am biased certainly, but I've seen the value and the growth that comes just from that willingness, that courage, that strength to
Yeah.
walk through whatever it is that life is giving you in that moment,
Yeah.
or across a season. Yeah, so I appreciate you speaking on that. Share
Yeah.
more. Anything else you want to share about that that would be important for whether it's a student or anyone listening, mental health wise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, mental health wise. Well, I mean, one thing I was going to say back to Judah's story was I think for me, again, I had said I wanted to be a teacher or a nurse or maybe in mission. So I kind of had an idea that maybe nursing was a thought. It had come up because you can do travel nursing. There's so many opportunities to use it in like different fields. There's lots of flexibility in the career. But we were sitting in the NICU with Judah, and one of our primary nurses, who we still send Christmas cards to, was just telling us her story and that she had a significant loss, and that was what got her into nursing. And I think that just kind of started this like thought process of like, man, I could do this. Like, I like the clinical side of it, but I really like the relational side of it as well to help patients in these like really big moments of their life, be able to relate to them in this way. So it just kind of started my wheels turning about the possibility of going back to school. Yeah, so that doesn't answer the mental health question, but that was just another interesting part of the journey.
Yeah, well, especially that connection piece and that someone was
Mm-hmm.
able to share a bit about their own story and create a space for you to find truth or to find stability in
Yeah.
that moment. Yeah. Yeah. One of our dear friends, family friends, is Dr. Becca Collins. Shout out to
Mm-hmm.
the Collins families.
Yeah.
Scott is a Saxon grad as well. But I asked her the other day, I just said, hey, do you remember working with Anna Ernst at all? And here's what she said. Let me find it real quick.
That's so nice.
Yeah, it's coming up. I
I
worked
love
with
Dr.
her.
Collins.
Yes, she said she doesn't work in our clinic anymore, or she works in the clinic but doesn't work in L&D anymore. But I worked with her when she did, and I love her. She is an outstanding nurse. Pretty
That's so
special.
kind.
It's
She
pretty
was
special.
so sweet. Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd reached out to her. We had a miscarriage in between a couple of our
Mm.
kids, which is a whole nother hard thing that nobody talks about. Dr. Collins was on call, and I had reached out to her, or she had called me. Like, usually the doctor doesn't call you, but she called me just to check in. And I was supposed to go to work. I was scheduled for work. And she was like, Anna, don't go to work. Like, like you need to give
Yes.
yourself some space. Again, mental health.
Absolutely. Right?
Yeah, and I just appreciated her, genuine. She's just genuine. She's so genuine. So,
She totally is. And for her to speak about you in such an admirable
yeah.
way that you're outstanding. Curious. I think I know you well enough to know the answer to this, but I'm curious how you would answer it. What makes you outstanding?
Oh, I think one thing I try to do is find something that I can connect with about my patient or about my whoever it is, whether it's a friend or it's a patient or an enemy, someone who if you feel like you can't find anything to relate, there's always one thing that you can find to relate to them about. I had a patient who had like a specific tattoo that I could relate to. Like there's many things that I couldn't necessarily relate to, but this one tattoo spoke to me and I was like, "Oh, I can find a common ground here." And I think that sets me apart.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. That's
Yeah.
such a great testament to life too, and
Yeah.
just who we deal with on a daily basis, no
Yep.
matter where we're at the store, on the street, in our jobs,
Yep.
all of it. And I think
Yep.
it's a perfect segue to our big three questions. And these big three questions are
Okay.
brought to us through support from the Saxon Success Fund. The Saxon Success Fund is a nonprofit organization. Shout out Jim Edmonds, because I think he was very instrumental in getting this set up. The Saxon Success Fund raises money to invest in our school and our students through capital improvement projects and college scholarships, all with the goal and purpose to transform South Salem from one of the best schools in the state to one of the best in the nation. If you have any questions, anyone can go to saxonsuccessfund.org for more info. So, Anna, three big questions for you today. Number one, knowing where you are today and all that you're up to, what or who has helped get you to this point?
I mean, my relationship with Christ has been my most important leading foundation, and that may sound cheesy to some, but it has been where the rubber hits the road. I have nothing else. My, firstborn is in the NICU and don't know if he's going to live. That has been a source for me to feel like, okay, I can face it. So ultimately that people on earth today, my folks, my parents have definitely been pillars. I could think of so many different coaches. Azam Bayan was my coach for club soccer. He was super influential in my, figuring out how to play at a higher level. Yeah, I could name all the different coaches that I had from South. Laura Tiffin was so special to me. Mrs. August, so special. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing humans. Question 2.
Yeah.
What's one piece of advice you would give your high school version of yourself?
My high school version of myself. Okay, I wrote down a couple different things. The first one, I said to not be afraid to branch out because, again, on that point of like finding your sport or your thing, I think there's so much in life that we can enjoy. I remember taking a photography class once and I loved it, but I don't know why I didn't go back. But for some reason, I didn't go back. I did an ASL class and I also loved that. And then that didn't continue for whatever reason. So branch out.
Perfect. Question 3. If you could transform South High or public education, you've got a good lens through Kenneth too, but if you could transform this place in one way, what would you add or adjust?
Well, that's such a good question, too. I don't know how to fully answer. I think part of the answer is communication. Like, I think we all need to talk more and hear people more. That connection piece. I think we all come from different backgrounds, beliefs, experiences, journeys. And if we took time to understand one another, I think compassion would come. And I think compassion can change things. So there's my big answer.
That's great. Nope, I approve. I love it. Okay, we'll finish with some rapid fire questions. And these ones are brought to you by another one of our former Saxons, Dr. Corey Bickler, who was a classmate of yours as well.
Yeah.
As a 9 graduate, Dr. Bickler and Bickler Dentistry believe that your experiences should be comfortable, personalized, and stress-free. Whether you need a routine cleaning or advanced restorative treatment, the team at Bickler Dentistry uses the latest technology to keep your smile healthy and confident. So, Anna, rapid-fire questions. Well, first thing that comes to mind, do you have a favorite TV show and movie, and if so, what is it?
Okay, my favorite movie is Remember the Titans. My sibling Aaron and I would watch that over and over and over again. I still never get sick of it.
Yes, it's great.
Yeah.
Favorite class you ever took in college?
College, I think anatomy.
Okay, tough
Yeah,
one. I
I
haven't
know.
heard that one mentioned yet. Favorite spot to eat in Salem?
We love La Guadalupana. It's a taco truck off Portland Road. Best carne asadas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Class in high school that you use most professionally or personally?
Okay, professionally, probably biology. Personally, I don't know. I think a little bit of all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll tell the students that. Let's just keep paying attention. You're going to use it.
Paying attention. Yeah.
Favorite place that you've traveled?
Probably Fiji.
It's
Yes.
on the bucket list. Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. Any shout outs that you haven't given yet that you want to make sure you say?
Gosh, so many. I should give one to my husband, Ken.
Hi,
My
Ken.
siblings. I got your sister. I got the good ones in there.
Okay, perfect. Any other Saxon graduates that we should spotlight?
Anyone in my family would be probably interesting. I was also thinking of Hannah and Nick Ertzgard. They're in Salem. Addie Box. I know you had Colin and Katie Trammell. Used to be Katie Hansen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. We're coming for you, everybody. Anna, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for the life you're leading, and thank you for the chance to spotlight you and share your story to our students. Thank you for being someone who is courageous and can speak on things like mental health, being willing to be vulnerable and show the courage and strength that's required to step into those spaces. So we appreciate you.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you.
That does it for our conversation with Anna. Anna, thank you so much again for jumping in and being willing to be in the spotlight. Thanks to all of you for tuning in, and thanks to Matt Cox at Saucetown Properties. Thanks to Dr. Corey Bickler at Bickler Dentistry, and thanks to always to the Saxon Success Fund. We appreciate you. It's always a good week to be a Saxon. Go Saxons.